Hey everyone, Andrigat here and welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into Legion Remix, covering how leveling works, how the brand new artifact system powers up, the heroic world tier, and all the juicy details in between. And of course, I'll wrap it up with my own thoughts at the end, so stick around to find out if Legion Remix is actually better than its mob counterpart. Alright, first of all, as of the time of recording, everything points that it will launch on October 7th, though it's not officially announced by Blizzard. In any case, we probably have less than a month, so let's see what I've got so far from PTR. When it comes to picking your time runner, you can roll up any class and race combo. Well, almost everything, except Evokers. They didn't exist back in Legion, and Blizzard isn't about to whip up a brand new artifact or a class haul for them. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but apparently they don't. So Evokers, you'll have to wait until, well, Dragonfly Remix. When you create your character, it starts at level 10. You'll go through a short intro questline defending Dalaran from the Legion. It's quick, teaches you the basics, and shows you how the artifact powers up. For any alts that you create in the future though, you can skip this entirely. Just grab your artifact straight from Morituri. You'll get the artifact for your active spec right away, but you can unlock the others later by going through the Order Hall questline. There's also a skip for the Infinite Bazaar portal, so you can unlock that right away. So let's talk about powering up your artifact. How does that work? This time around, you'll grant infinite power, a separate currency from bronze. This is actually huge, especially when you compare it with Mob Remix. You don't have to go through any more awkward trade-offs between power progression and cosmetics. Bronze is only for buying cosmetics from vendors at the Infinite Bazaar, while infinite power fuels your artifact tree. Now, this artifact tree is pretty different from what we had in original Legion. Instead of being tied to your class or spec, it's now a unified tree that every class uses. The very first ability you unlock is called Remixed Time, and when used, it dramatically increases your cooldown recovery for a brief duration. This will prove to be quite handy as it drops down your cooldowns, as long as you do remember to use it. Next, you'll start unlocking minor traits that increase passive stats. After putting points in your initial traits, you'll be able to choose 1 out of 5 different artifact abilities. Basically, there are 5 different rows and they're tapping into a different magic: Nature, Fel, Arcane, Storm, and Holy. They include more minor and major passive traits and the final powerful effect. Personally, I love the Fel path, where you can summon a Dreadlord that deals a lot of damage. And let's be honest, who doesn't want a Dreadlord by their side? What's really interesting about this artifact tree is that you can unlock more passive major traits from other paths, and you can mix and match. Let me explain a bit here. As you level, you'll start getting rings, necks, and trinkets, and these are quite special because they grant traits from paths that you didn't take. For example, if you went down the Fel tree, like me, you might still snag a passive from Holy or Arcane. Green gear grants 1 rank, blue 2, and epic grants 3, so you should always optimize for the best quality. I think this is really cool. It adds some flexibility and a fun layer of tinkering to get the setup you really want. At the end of the tree sits the trait Limits Unbound, which you can stack infinitely. It gives primary stat, stamina, and 1% versatility per stack, with no diminishing returns whatsoever. That's going to seriously boost both damage and survivability. Speaking of stats, every secondary stat in Legion Remix ignores diminishing returns and hard caps. In other words, you can push them as far as you want. Well, as far as the highest gear allows you. And it seems the highest item level we can get right now is 740. Okay, let's circle back to Infinite Power because there's more. A great thing about Infinite Power is that it's shared across all of your artifacts, so nothing gets left behind. That said, Infinite Power isn't itself war-bound. That's where Infinite Knowledge comes in. This is another currency which is shared across your entire warband. The more infinite knowledge you have, the more infinite power you'll be able to accumulate. It lets your alts accumulate more infinite power once your main has progressed. To increase that knowledge, you'll need to complete achievements like finishing zone campaigns and the Sojourner quest lines, and more. There is a cap though, and when you hit it, extra knowledge just converts into bronze. Now, how do you actually level up your artifact? you'll need Artifactium Sand. This drops at a low chance from caches of infinite power, which you get by completing, well, almost every quest, or by scrapping gear. You can use your Unraveling Sand's ability to do that, or just head to the scrapper in the Infinite Bazaar. The sand increases the item level of your current artifact, and also the ones from your other specs, so thankfully swapping specs doesn't really punish your progression anymore, unlike Original Legion. This way you can power up your artifact to go all the way up to 740 item level. Okay, now let's talk a bit about leveling and what you should do to speed it up. Right off the bat, if we were to compare it with Mob Remix, well, leveling here feels slower, at least for your first few tunes. That said, you can unlock Warbound XP buffs, and you should absolutely do that. Completing infinite research quests from Eternus gives you a 1% XP boost. At the start, you can only pick up a handful of these, I think around 6, but you can unlock more daily. The tasks are also super simple, things like completing 6 quests, killing rares, clearing demons out of the skies, running a dungeon or raid, stuff you will naturally be doing anyway. And the best part, you can even tell Eternus what kind of activities you prefer, so you don't have to grind things you don't really enjoy. While this infinite research system looks very similar to the Dornogal weekly quest, it's actually better. You don't have to log in every single day to complete them, but you can save them up and complete all of them in a single session when you've got more time in your hands. For example, on Sunday or Saturday or whenever you want. It appears you can also increase your research capacity further by finishing certain quests. For example, right now on PTR I can unlock up to 12 research tasks. Now that's only the start. On top of this 1% boost, there are also bigger ones, at least 5 different 10% XP buffs. Each one comes from finishing a zone campaign. That's High Mountain, Stormheim, Azuna, and Val'Sharah, plus one more for hitting level 80 with a Time Runner. Maxing out a character also gives you the Fel version of the class mount, along with other goodies. I actually made a whole video covering the vendor rewards if you want to check that out. And that might not be all. Maybe there's more XP buffs tied to later content like Suramar or Argus, but those weren't testable on PTR. We'll see when it goes live, and I'll be sure to make a leveling guide once things are a bit clearer. Like Mob Remix, you can queue for raids while leveling, but this time we don't really seem to get any XP threats or anything noteworthy. So thus far, they don't seem rewarding for leveling, but that of course might change. On the other hand, your first clear of normal and heroic dungeons do give an epic infinite power chest. You get bronze and stats, but you don't again really get much XP from them. That said, I think you should do them just for the power progression. And well, they're pretty easy to clear. I mean, it takes probably less than 5 minutes. Another thing you should know is that out in the world you'll come across obelisks that give temporary buffs. Depending on the obelisk, because there's different versions of them, you get more damage, more healing, haste, and even sometimes you can even fight in Doomguard for extra stat bonuses and rewards. So definitely do interact with them if you come across them. Now for something new and for anyone who's looking for a bit of a challenge, let's check the heroic world tier. In this mode, mobs are harder to kill, they have more health, deal more damage, but they also give more stats and better rewards. You unlock it through a console near Eternus in the hub and just basically interact with it. You can leave this mode whenever you want by clicking the extra ability you get or just by interacting again with the console. It's available for both max level and also leveling tunes. You can get in as early as level 10, though I wouldn't really recommend it. Fresh tunes are just too weak, and I think it will be a disaster. That said, if you wanna try it, by all means go for it. I actually went in at level 20 and it was honestly pretty fun. Not gonna lie, it took ages to kill the mobs, but I wouldn't get one-shotted. That said, it is pretty easy to die here. If you go up against a lot of mobs, and especially empower mobs, more on those in a bit, well, you'll eventually die. In the unfortunate event of you dying, and trust me, you will at some point sooner or later in this tier, you are simply kicked out of it. To re-enable it, you'll need to go back to the Infinite Bazaar and to that console. There is a convenient way to do that. If you use the Noswind's voucher, you can teleport straight to the hub, and once you click it again, you return back to your original place. These vouchers drop from mobs, and you can even buy them from Noswin at the Infinite Bazaar. So the question is, should you level in heroic tier? Yes and no. Well, it depends. If you are up for the challenge, go for it. Empower mobs, which are pretty self-explanatory, the ones with the auras, or like glowing effects on top of their head, always give extra rewards on kill. Rares are always empowered, plus they show on your minimap, so these are the probably easiest to farm. As far as leveling goes, in heroic tier you'll get 500% more XP from all the mobs. While that sounds huge, in practice it's not really that effective. I mean, mobs here do take a long time to kill, and on top of that I didn't find any good farming spots that I could just use for leveling. On the flip side, I definitely noticed my stats and stamina climbing, so it's really good for power progression. If you are playing with a friend, I'll say 100% do heroic. If you are solo and struggling, well, in that case maybe hold off until you gear up a bit. And that's it, that's my experience so far testing Legion Remix on the PTR. Now, a few thoughts to wrap this up, and again, this is my personal feedback and point of view. While leveling in Heroic proved to be quite challenging and fun, I didn't feel it was necessary, and in fact it wasn't faster. Actually, it felt way slower. Still, it made my character way stronger, and yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Overall, leveling in Legion Remix feels way slower compared to Mob Remix, and that got me a bit disappointed. In Mob Remix, I could hit max in a few hours thanks to the threads we could get from raids. There is nothing equivalent here to threads, or well, any reason to do LFR at all, as far as leveling goes, of course. In Legion Remix, I had one character boosted to 80 through the PTR testing, and my second character, which I started fresh, had about a 30 to 40% XP buff. Even with this buff, it was noticeably slower and took a couple of hours to hit 30. Granted, I was streaming, AFKing quite a lot, and reading quest text, because those class haul and artifact quests, oh, they are so packed with lore, and I love that stuff. So yeah, I'm not really fast when it comes to leveling and questing at the same time. And one other thing to keep in mind is that obviously this is PTR, things could change before the official release, and I hope they will, for the better of course. PTR is open until September 16th, so if you wanna test it out yourself, you can do that and let me know if you leveled up and how does it feel. Overall, I had so much fun in Pandaria Remix, and I'm still optimistic about Legion. It's bigger, better in many ways, but the leveling speed is a weak spot. For a limited mode, I think it should be faster. Still, there's a lot to like here, lots and lots of rewards, way more than Pandaria, and yeah, let's hope for a few buffs on leveling. So yeah, if anyone from Blizzard is watching this, please, let us have some fun. That's it from me, guys. Let me know in the comments if you want me to dive deeper into any of the Legion Remix features, artifacts, Heroic War tier, or anything. Drop your questions or anything you have to say really down below. As always, thank you so much for sticking around until the very end, and make sure to drop a like if you have found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe for more WoW coverage and hit the bell to stay up to date. It's free and it will help me very much. Good luck with whatever you are doing, and I'll see you all in the next one.